You are listening to the Entrepreneur Diary podcast, where entrepreneurs discuss the pros and cons of starting and running a business, investing, real estate, and all matters involving wealth and prosperity. Please support by subscribing and dropping a review wherever you are listening to or watching us.
What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneur Diary. I am your host, David. Some just call me Plain Diaz. But yeah, I am your host. Before we start, if you are watching us on YouTube or if you're listening to us through any of your favorite podcast apps or platforms, I ask you to please subscribe to our channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button, turn that thumb blue, subscribe to our channel, and always leave us a comment. I don't know if you liked, what you didn't like, if you have any suggestions, any topics you want us to talk about, any requests, I would love to know. So you can drop that in the comments. If you listen to us through podcast platforms, then you can also please subscribe to the podcast. You can drop us a few stars and maybe a review. That would be very, very nice. I also want to invite you guys. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. You can find us as Entrepreneur Diary. Yep, just like that, at Entrepreneur Diary. So one of the things I was thinking, the other day, I woke up in the middle of the night. And I was thinking, because I was like, how can I keep adding more value to the show? How can I make this show grow? I don't want it to be solely dependent on guests. I want to be able to just flick on the camera, turn on the mic, and talk to you. Obviously, around the theme, our theme of business and, just entrepreneurship. Our journey, other people's journey. The idea is I want everyone to gain value. And I remember that years ago, prior to the internet, you would wait for specials like on TV where they would show you behind this, behind the scenes stuff, like the making of whatever movie. This was something that would really excite me. And as the internet came on, or, even on TV or specials like Behind the Music, and you would see things that you weren't normally told, or, it was things that weren't, we weren't exposed to them like that. So you would find out these little tidbits of information and be like, wow, it was very insightful. And again, this was the type of content that really excited me. So as the internet came out, I would find myself searching for stories of these famous business people, stories about like the movie on Netflix, The Founder, story about McDonald's and how it started. I've seen that movie at least like 5 or 6 times. I'm just fascinated by those types of stories. And Hulu, I saw last year, I remember watching, I forgot the name of it. And it was a special on Hulu. And I'm pretty sure it's like one of these like History Channel type specials. And they gave a backstory about McDonald's and KFC and Taco Bell and Heinz ketchup and Hershey chocolate and Kellogg's cereal. It was just very, very interesting. And again, this is the type of content that excites me. So the other day, let me raise my desk a little bit more. The other day, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was thinking, I was like, hey, maybe I can search the net and just find a website. Obviously, we will give credit to the website. Just find a short, maybe bio of a different entrepreneur where we can share their journey and just make it part of the Entrepreneur Diary. And again, this is something that I gain value from it. I do learn from it, and I hope that you guys will as well. So I'm guessing we can like sprinkle these, I don't know if you want to call it a segment or just podcast episodes of like history and entrepreneurship. I'm guessing we can like sprinkle these, every so often and just talk about one of these motivating or inspirational stories. If you're watching us on YouTube, please comment if you have a story you want to hear or a story you recommend us to read, and maybe we can read it to our listeners. And just like if you're also on podcasts, listening to this podcast, you can leave a comment, or you can also shoot us a DM on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us at Entrepreneur Diary. So today, one of the stories I wanted to talk to about. So I went and I found this website called snagajob.com. They wrote this blog post, and this is what we'll be reading today. Again, it's Snagajob, yeah, SNAGAGOB.com. And they have this very interesting blog post of Colonel Sanders. So it's called The Inspiring Life Story of KFC's Colonel Sanders. And I believe it was written by Amy Culver. Okay. She is the lead copywriter at Snagajob. So here we go. We gave credit where credit is due. Now let's dig into the story. So it reads as follows. Have you been rejected or disappointed time and time again? Well, Colonel Harlan Sanders, founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, did. But he took his failures and didn't just make lemonade. He made the world a better place. Starting off the bat, right? I mean, I think most of us that are in the entrepreneurial world and business world, we have heard one thing or another about Colonel Sanders. And one of the things that I remember mostly is the fact that he was already at an advanced age when he finally made it. I recently heard in one of these like audiobooks of Jim Rohn, where he says that due diligence is the mother of all good luck, right? We see people succeed, or people see us succeed, and the first thing that comes to mind is that they say like, wow, that person is lucky. What they don't see is the amount of work that was put behind whatever it is that we're doing when we finally make it. We see these artists, or we see these actors and actresses, and people like, oh, overnight sensation. But when you dig into their story, they've been working at it for like maybe 10, 15 years. It says that Sanders was born in 1890 in Henryville, Indiana. When he was 6 years old, his father passed away, leaving Sanders to cook and care for his siblings. In 7th grade, he dropped out of school and left home to go work as a farmhand, already turning into a tough cookie. So again, he's so lucky. Look at this. 7th grade, right? When he was 6 years old, his father passes away. He needs to learn how to cook, take care of his siblings. He has to drop out of school by the time he's in 7th grade to go and work. I don't see much luck there. Says that at age 16, he faked his age to enlist in the United States Army after being honorably discharged a year later. I'm still at the stage where I find that I sound weird speaking English, because mainly my content is usually in Spanish. But anyway, here we go. All right. So after being honorably discharged a year later, he got fired by the railway as a laborer. However, he got fired for fighting with a coworker. While he worked for the railway, he studied law until he ruined his legal career by getting into another fight. Sanders was forced to move back in with his mom and get a job selling life insurance. And guess what? He got fired for insubordination, but this guy wouldn't give up. So I want you to take, I don't know, we can analyze and dissect this, right? He kept getting fired. It was always something, right? He got fired. Okay, he got on the railway as a laborer. He got fired for fighting with a coworker. Then he studied law, and he ruined that legal career by getting into another fight. And then selling life insurance, he also gets fired for insubordination. So he had a pattern of being fired or doing things, maybe not thinking things through. I don't know. Maybe being impulsive. That could be. I don't know. I'm not judging. We're trying to analyze this because I want to compare it to how some people, right? We have certain goals, we have certain dreams, and sometimes we are at fault for why it either never comes into fruition or it takes longer than it should. Okay, 1920, he founded a ferryboat company. Later, he tried cashing in his ferryboat business to create a lamp manufacturing company, only to find out that another company already sold a better version of his lamp. Poor guy couldn't catch a break. So he wasn't just, oh, he's so lucky he founded KFC. This is what people look at. He's been fired by a bunch of jobs, but he also started a few companies. KFC was not his first company. Usually people in entrepreneurship, listen, I have to raise my hand, me included. I've tried many businesses before. I think in episode 3, I spoke briefly about it, about how I've tried so many different businesses and some worked well, better than others. Some just failed. And I know that in that episode, I didn't speak of everything. I just gave a brief summary of some of the businesses I've worked on. And we see here that Colonel Sanders, he tried, got fired, tried different businesses, but the key is that he wouldn't give up. And even though it looked, he started his lamp company, he did the ferry boat business, and he sold it off to create a lamp manufacturing company. And then when he tried to sell that, somebody already sold a better version of the lamp that he was selling. It says that it wasn't until age 40 that he began selling chicken dishes in a service station. As he began to advertise his food, an argument with a competitor resulted in a deadly shootout. 4 years later, he bought a motel which burned to the ground along with his restaurant. Yet, this determined man rebuilt and ran a new motel until World War II forced him to close it down. So again, for those who thought, oh, he's lucky, he landed this recipe, the 11 herbs and spices, and look how amazing and how lucky he is and how well he did. People don't see what happened behind the scenes prior to all the success. So here at age 40, selling chicken dishes in a service station. Got into an argument with a competitor, which ended out in a deadly shootout. Obviously, it wasn't Colonel Sanders that was shot. Says that 4 years later, so he had to buy another 4 years. Just he ends up he bought a motel, which ends up burning to the ground with his restaurant that started in the motel. But he was so determined that he rebuilt it. And then again, World War II forces him to close it down. Following the war, he tried to franchise his restaurant. His recipe was rejected 1,009 times. I need to say that again. This recipe of this famous chicken that we know today, was rejected 1,009 times before anyone accepted it. Sanders' secret recipe was coined Kentucky Fried Chicken and quickly became a hit. Mind you, we're using the term quickly very loosely. He'd been trying already. It got rejected 1,009 times. The recipe. Prior to that, he had started doing chicken dishes at a service station. After that, opened up a restaurant at a motel. Burned down, rebuilt, closed down again. I can't get over that. 1,009 times. But it became a hit. However, the booming restaurant was crippled when an interstate opened nearby, so Sanders sold it and pursued his dream of spreading KFC franchises and hiring KFC workers all across the country. but he's lucky. Says that after years of failures and misfortunes, Sanders finally hit it big. KFC expanded internationally, and he sold the company for $2 million, which today would be worth $15.3 million today. Even today, Sanders remains central in KFC's branding, and his face still appears in their logo. His goatee, white suit, and Western string tie continue to symbolize delicious country fried chicken all over the world. Wow. Gotta give it to him. At age 90, Sanders passes away from pneumonia. At that time, there were around 6,000 KFC restaurant locations in 48 countries. By 2013, there were an estimated 18,000 KFC locations in 118 countries. So, the point being, if you ever felt like you were being dismissed, maybe you feel that you were rejected, right? This is the lesson we're going to pull out from this story. Obviously, this is a brief summary, but the lesson here to learn is that sometimes we try things and we give up way too quickly. Everything that comes easy is also easy to quit, right? So what costs us most work and sacrifice is what we learn to appreciate. It's like when we have children, or we see children that grow up to be adults and their parents always gave them everything. They don't know what it is to earn. They don't know what it is to earn money, so they don't appreciate it. They didn't have to sacrifice for it. So, they splurge and spend on nonsense, and they don't understand the value of money because they never had to sacrifice and work for it. So when we have our dreams and goals, it's important for us to be consistent. If something we can learn from Colonel Sanders is that he kept on keeping on. He kept going. He didn't give up. I mean, he went through so many ups and downs, and I could just imagine in his head, like, he started his first business. Whoa, his boat ferry business. Oh, I made it. But that wasn't his goal or his dream. Sells it. Starts a lamp company. Maybe I can sell this, and then all of a sudden, boom, competition. I can imagine how crushed he must have felt. Then he, starts selling dishes at a service station, and then, opens up a motel. Well, I made it. That's not enough. Motel or restaurant. It's not enough. But then it burns down. Opens it up again. And then the war forces him to close. But he didn't give up. He tried. His goal became franchising his chicken, his restaurants. He wanted to expand. He had a bigger vision. I can imagine everybody around him must have thought he was nuts. But he kept going, even through rejection. Sometimes we get rejected once, or we get told no once, and we automatically want to throw our hands up and go, this is not for me. This is not what I want to do. Maybe it's not meant for me. Oh, this is not working. And we're not consistent. We say that we want things, but we're not willing to stick to it. And this is a lesson I've had to learn over the years, and I'm still learning it now. I started this podcast maybe about 2-3 years ago. And I got caught up with so many other things that I let it go. And I was like, my biggest thing is, I can speak English, obviously, but it's a challenge for me sometimes. Certain words, I process many things in Spanish. So it gets a little tricky for me, but I'm here, I'm doing it. And, once I would invite people and I either wouldn't get an answer or, just get told no, I was like, oh, this is not for me. And I let it die. But now I decided, like, you know what? Even if it's me standing in front of a camera and a mic, I am going to do this project. and I am going to stick to it because I want to give value to people. I want to give that type of content that I love so much. There's so much content out there that was very motivating and inspiring to me. And I don't know, I just want to create that type of conversation with people where we can talk business, or we can talk entrepreneurship, or we can talk about history in the business, or we can talk about inspiring stories and just share with you guys, and just hope you guys get the maximum value possible. So with that said, Colonel Sanders taught us about rejection, and he taught about consistency. To never, ever, ever give up on our dreams and our goals. So I hope you take that with you, and it'll be until the next episode. Please drop us a comment, a review, subscribe, and like. I'll see you guys in the next episode.